Okay, I'm starting to see the numbers creep up. I think it would be a good time to get started because we've got the introductions at the start. So welcome to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is on AIOps Success Story. We're going to be covering service blueprints for rapid AIOps success. And I'm delighted to have a guest speaker today joining myself and my co-host Yaron Front, our Director of Product Management. And we will be joined by Shrikant Dej, our Senior Manager of IT. He will do his formal introduction when we get started, but just a reminder before I hand over to you, Ron, to get us started. There is the Q&A section of Zoom. You can find that at the bottom. If you do have any questions, please put them in there. We are also joined by Matt, our blueprints expert. I'm sure he's going to kill me for saying that. But our other product manager who will be able to answer some of your questions. And then we will have roughly 15 to 20 minutes at the end where we will take the questions live. I know we've got a lot of content, so I've been told to be strict with how long I speak. So with that, I'm now going to hand over to Yaron to get us started. Over to you, Yaron.
Thanks, Sam. And thank you, everybody, for joining us for the webinar today. So I'm just going to set the scene real quick. So next slide, please. So I just want to talk a little bit about the IT operations management challenge. So what is AIOps and in the case of Helix, agentic AIOps coming to solve? So the first thing is we're talking about digital services. That's what IT provides as a service to the organization. So a digital service may be a customer portal for customers. It may be an order processing, which may be a back-end type service that people use. It may be an HR and payroll system. That's another service that IT provides to the organization. All of these digital services produce a lot of information. So there's a lot of information that has to do with these services and that is produced. Click, please. And that information has to do with the topology. So how are these services built? What component is dependent on what other component? How are they connected? These services, the servers, the different components, they produce metrics and logs and traces and events and alerts. There's also change information and incident information coming from service management. There are knowledge articles and there's network information. So there's a lot of information coming out of it. Click, please. And the challenge is that oftentimes that information is siloed, meaning it may come from multiple tools and it doesn't talk to each other, it doesn't correspond to each other. So every tool or every server or every type of technology has its own siloed data coming out of that business service. And it's complex to understand without context. So you don't always know which database or which server or which network component, which storage device belongs to which service. And what that causes is that you oftentimes are going to see a very complex picture. So click on the picture, please. So this is an actual map that we once did just to look at what it looks like. So you got the different layers and they come into different tools and that produces all of that complex information. Click, please. So now you've got all that information flowing into your NOC and to your subject matter experts in IT operations management. And you've got these people, you got the NOC and the SME, and they have to deal with all of this jumbled information that's, again, without the context and not really knowing what to do with it. And there's also oftentimes overload of information. One failure can cause 3,000, and this is an actual number, can cause 3,000 events to be generated and multiple alerts to happen. Next, please. And because of all of that jumbled information, you get frequent failures. Once an outage or a performance issue happens, it's slow to resolve. And you've got your NOC and your SMEs, your subject matter experts. So SMEs are subject matter experts sitting in war rooms all day, trying to resolve problems. And the impact on your business is, click please, is that you're not providing the levels of service that your customers and users may expect. People who are using these services are unhappy. The organization could be slow to innovate because your SMEs, your experts on the applications and on the services and on the technology are sitting in war rooms all day instead of helping the business grow. You're wasting resources, and there's a constant skills gap where you expect NOC to solve more complex problems with new technology and more complex technology. And that's always a skills gap where you're always running after the next big thing. Next slide, please. So the solution that we're going to see today, that Srikanth is going to show us a real life example of, is that we know the information is still going to come in. And if anything, looking forward, there's going to be more information, it's going to be more complex, and it's going to come from more sources. But if you put a layer of agentic AIOps between that jumbled information and your IT operation, and you have all of these capabilities that come with a solution of agentic AIOps, the information that now is going to flow into your IT operations, into your NOC, is going to be, click please, it's going to have context. So it's always going to be talking about, here's what happened on a specific service. It's going to be summarized. So we use GPT to summarize information in human readable form. So we actually tell you a story. Here's where the failure happened. Here's why it happened. But we don't stop there. The bar and Ask Helix GPT, the third part here, has to do with, okay, I told you what happened. I told you what the root cause is in plain language, but we also offer best action recommendations, which is BAR, B-A-R. And we have an interface called Ask Helix GPT, which allows an operator to actually converse with the agent, with the agentic AIOps agent, to get more information like, which team can help me solve this problem? Or has this problem happened in the past? Or what would you recommend the best action to be at this time to solve the problem? And once you do that, click please, you're improving your service reliability. You reduce the time it takes to solve problems, and you're able to prevent problems before they impact customers, and at the same time also save costs by improving efficiency. And the impact on the organization at the end of the day is, click please, that now your SMEs can go back to innovating and growing and improving your business, but you also get happier customers, you're driving more innovation, you're cutting costs, and IT is now a business driver instead of being a business inhibitor, meaning it is able to push the business forward and become a productive part of growing the business. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Srikanth to show us a real life example of how that works.
Thank you, Yaron. And thanks for setting the context and the stage for me. Before I start, let me introduce myself. So I'm part of internal IT for BMC, and it's been more than 15 years, my association with the BMC. And I take care about the operations enablement and observability and AIOps solutions to run effective IT operations for internal IT. At the same time, we also call ourselves the CustomerZero, and that's what this slide is about, Helix on Helix. That means we consume our product, we enable the business use cases or the business to run with integrated solutions. And also we showcase our journey and best practices, which is something we are doing today. And we collaborate with product management and R&D teams to share our real-time experiences and first-hand observations while we are using the product in a day-to-day operations. I got a few slides before I jump to the live console. And our topic today is to share the success story, the effectiveness which we are having by using the Helix AIOps. But before I jump to the live console, which is our own internal production environment, I just want to take few minutes to set the context and let you understand how exactly our operation portfolio looks like. So I got just 2 to 3 slides before I jump to the demo. And this is the one slide where it gives the overall array of solutions we use to run our operations and to enable the excellency for our command center as well as rest of the IT platform and application support teams. If I have to quickly explain, so on the left side, our infrastructure and application, which are spread across multiple geolocations with a data center presence, being monitored or managed using the Helix operation management solution and the components. We use synthetic monitoring capabilities within the BHOM to have end-to-end application availability and response time with the help of simulating the user journey by configuring or recording the scripts using the Selenium as in a knowledge module. We leverage Netrio for end-to-end network monitoring, right from every aspect of a network, whether it's a hardware parameter or versus it's a deep dive analysis into the packet. We use Helix log analytics very extensively for level 2, level 3 use cases. But not only that, we also have log analytics being enabled for our level 1 service desk team to help analyze the issues which may create a productivity challenges such as account lockout. Often when R&D engineer or somebody who has changed the password based on your password change policy, it is possible to forget about the password being used on multiple applications or the build machines or R&D environment. And this is where our service desks have the ability to run the query for that impacted user and get the results within the seconds for the source lockout host name, which does help to reduce a lot of manual hours, but at the same time allows to give a great user experience. So we can have that conversation in a different session if we need to go in deep how we enable that use case. And a very much core component, which is Helix Discovery, not only for component or app discovery, but it is one of the key and core solution for end-to-end service modeling. And all of this data, whether it's a metric, log, event, and the service topology, gets consumed by Helix Operation Management / AIOps solution, which allow us to have dynamic service modeling with the help of Service Blueprint, which is our topic today, and we'll double click that, and I will share how exactly we are using it. But not only that, from end-to-end operation perspective, whether it's a noise reduction, root cause isolation, or making sure the observability is well enriched and efficiently captured across each layer of infrastructure, whether it's a hardware or end user synthetic monitoring. On the right side, everything gets consumed with our single unified console for dashboard and reporting to help us solve and provide the various different use cases from persona to persona. So we'll also have some examples in today's session about a couple of dashboards, which are helping us to drive different business value cases. We use Helix continuous optimization very effectively to have a proper and effective capacity planning, forecast, and saturation analysis across our infrastructure inventory. We use intelligent automation for end-to-end event remediation, and which is being used as an automation broker, where we have TrueSight orchestrator as an workflow executor, but we also have the configurations and integration with Ansible and different connectors. We got a various different use cases leveraged using the TrueSight orchestrator, not only the closed loop remediation, but it can be self-service portal where user can submit the request using the DWP and get the request automated or fully automated with the help of backend workflow. We also have operator initiated workflows. For example, if there is a outage situation and level 1 operator has to reboot or take some remediation just to mitigate that particular problem, they have the access some of the operator initiated workflow as well. And the third use case, which is end-to-end closed loop remediation, which is integrated with AIOps through the intelligent automation, where we get end-to-end governance as well as the ROI value frame about the situation remediation. And in the bottom, service management perspective, we got a very tightly integrated platform which allow us to drive the service ops use cases. And we'll take a couple of those examples in the live console as well. So this was just to help understand how end-to-end or operations are being enabled using the AIOps. And I want to spend one more minute here before we jump to the live environment, which is about some key value addition while we run the entire operation using the AIOps. On the top corner, you would see number of infrastructure CIs, or I would say the length and breadth, which is being managed using the AIOps and which enabling our global command center. So that spans into the more than 80,000 VMs and 100K plus containers. And this number is so dynamic based on the release cycle of R&D and things keeps on spinning on and off. So maybe it is now more than 100K or maybe less than 100K. But you would notice one key aspect or the value prop here, which is entire global command center operations to manage this inventory is managed by 2 engineers every time in a shift. So every shift, we have always 2 engineers only. And this role is not to only manage the inventory, but to serve the employee strength, which is spread across the global locations, 8,000 plus employees. And most importantly, entire operation is a service-centric manner, where we got our entire business being decomposed in a business capability model with a 28 business services and 480 technical services. We will talk about that. How does that entire business capability model looks like and how we enable that using the blueprint. But further, if you see, there are other value cases such as dashboard effectiveness, and that has been one of our very early and the key success with using the entire Helix platform and the AIOps journey, where we could transform ourselves into the dashboard and reporting perspective to provide more effective and comprehensive reports and dashboard with multiple different data sources coming together, whether it's operations management, service management, or automation or capacity, with the various personas to slice and dice and relate, whether it's a troubleshooting perspective or making a decision, which is a data driven. So we'll have a couple of those dashboard example on a live console as well. As we saw the context in a previous slides, what AIOps really drives as an efficiency is about event correlation. And obviously that event correlation is derived having better service dependency mapping or the service topology, and which is we could successfully accomplish using the blueprint approach. And we will talk about that and I will show how the blueprints are being used. And one of the key aspect about the effectiveness of blueprint within our environment is previously we used to spend a lot of time, sometime multiple days or even the weeks to get a topology for just one of the application, which has now reduced into the just few minutes. So 10 minutes is also at a higher side. I could say we are now able to create the service topology within couple of minutes as well by using the reusable rule-based template, which is nothing but the blueprint. So we'll talk about that and I will share how that blueprint looks like. And we'll have the real scenario of creating a topology using one of the blueprint. And in the end, one of the key objective is to have as much as automated operations for remediation perspective. And now with AIOps, we get a situation in a very contextual manner available into the intelligent automation itself, which reduce so many manual hours to identify the trigger condition or propagation related rule. And it has everything for a policy enabler or the workflow designer. And all you need to configure the required steps so that remediation can take place. All right, this is my last slide. And this is our business service technical service capability model. This is just a snippet. We couldn't fit all 480 technical services. But with help of having very well defined business capability model and the business service and technical service hierarchy, we are able to achieve our command center operations with only 2 resources per shift. The reason, there is a better identification of impact, and at the same time, we are effectively able to communicate to the business. For example, all of these horizontally put services such as sales management, solutions management, marketing management are representing the business services versus the vertically placed, all these are the technical services. Now consider if there is a CI hosted in a Phoenix data center has a issue or impact, and if command center engineer reaches to the business stating phx-xyz.bmc.com having this and this problem, business may not able to really interpret that message. Instead of that, our command center engineer are able to communicate effectively. Something as like a Jira is impacted, or maybe sales force is impacted, so that sales guys are able to understand what's the exact impact of that because of issue. So I want to just have this segue before I jump to the live console, and I will take a quick switch to the live console of AIOps, where you will see the exact replica of that PowerPoint, but in a much more bigger ratio. Now you would see I have the filter already applied for the kind business service. Now consider if I remove this, we will have a list of all the business service and technical services which are mapped. And all of those are horizontally presenting the business services, and there are underneath list of technical services. And this is a go-to console for our command center to identify impact and as well as communicate effectively and drill down into the root cause isolation. Now, before I navigate ahead and pick an example of one of the impacted service and walk through the use cases, I would like to jump on a usage of service blueprint and at what level the effectiveness of blueprint we're able to achieve, whether it's a speed of creation or accuracy, or it's being a very dynamically managed and handled with help of discovery. What I will do, I will take a quick demonstration of creation of a service. On my right corner, I click the create service. Being administrator, I have the ability to use the AIOps console, and I've been pretty much used to of navigating through the AIOps console. But creation of service topology is similarly available with the same UI in Helix Discovery as well. Now consider if I have to create a new service, whether it's a business service or technical service. Let's take an example of a technical service for the matter of quick demonstration. And if I provide a name as an maybe JBoss app. I'm just putting some random name, and I will ensure I don't save this so that we are not creating a garbage into the production console. Now, there are two compositions, which is nothing but the type of using the topology, whether you want a dynamic composition or a static composition. Obviously, our interest is to have the topology created dynamically. Now, if I select a dynamic composition, it will pull up the list of blueprints. And as I stated in the start, blueprint is nothing but a set of rules or a template which allows you to define what exactly the topology should contain based on a CI node or a CI kind. So we'll talk about and I will show how does that blueprint for us looks like. Now there are list of blueprints which we consume, but very much we have optimized that usage of blueprint also with the list of only limited blueprints. Currently we use only 3 blueprints to model all of our service inventory, which is like hundreds of technical services being modeled using a single blueprint. So if I take an example of a blueprint called software instance to a technical service. So this is a blueprint where we have defined a rule to start with any software instance. Now consider if there is a new application or a new technical service being provisioned or need to be enabled in a production environment. As an AIOps enabler or service model designer, I don't always have everything which I need to consume as a topology or define as a topology. And this is where we used to spend a lot of time in the past. We use a discovery from multiple years, more than a decade, and discovery was a powerful tool back then, and it is a so powerful tool even today. But the fundamental challenge was to really have a very required or defined scope of operation into an impact model. So what does that mean? We used to spend a conversation or the meeting hours with the stakeholder. For example, I would need to have the time from the storage admin, database admin, application architecture, database architecture to understand what should be my incoming versus outgoing communications into the topology. Should I include everything which is being observed by discovery or has to be very focused context of my topology? And often we used to spend multiple days to just fix what my scope of model should be. Now, as I've selected blueprint for software instance to service and consider there is a new application and all I have to know whether that application is running on Tomcat or JBoss or a .NET, or it could be some custom homegrown application as well. So now consider example, it's a JBoss driven application being introduced into the infrastructure newly. The moment I select JBoss, it will give me the list of all the JBoss instance or the software instance being discovered by discovery into the infrastructure. Now, if I select one of the software instance of JBoss for the production, the naming convention, if you notice, will give me the identification, whether it's a production or a DR or a QA. Now, just to populate the data, I'm going to select the 2 JBoss software instances on one of the production host. And if I hit preview, it will now apply the defined rule set into the blueprint and will provide the topology based on that definition in a blueprint. Now, in this case, it has brought me what hardware container or the chassis is being used to get that end-to-end application dependency versus the network device. In this case, there is a chassis switch. And if I expand file system, storage volume, and so on. So let's expand this each and every group or the node. You will notice within a single click, I got the blueprint, which is giving me the required focus of a dependency mapping, including the software instance, hardware element, ESX host, required virtual machine, which are really building that application, and all of the network components. Now, I don't need to really go back and try to reassure what is required into the topology because I already have the blueprint. And this is so effectively helping us and has enabled most of our administrator and enablers to create a service topology as and when there's a new application is enrolled. So previously, which used to take a lot of time, has been now reduced into the just few minutes. So let me take another example. Now consider if we do not know whether it's a JBoss driven or Tomcat driven, but it could be a same host, and I just have information about that application server name, but I want to still create a topology based on the host. So I'm going to take a same example, but with a blueprint which is defined as a host to load balancer, right? Or it could be host to service. Now, if I select same host here, JWeb, and let me just pick the server and hit preview content. Now, in this case, I have picked another host to start from host to service. And you would see I got a topology created just with the context of definition, which is defined into the blueprint. So what we did basically, let me just go back and show you the blueprint so that it gives better understanding. I'm going to close everything. I don't want to save. And we will come back to the service health page. But the blueprints, you notice now one of these blueprint which we use as a host to service has 151 technical services being modeled using just a single blueprint. And if I expand this in a view mode, fundamentally the logic we applied by considering what would be the host look like to form as an application or a service as an architecture. It would require some of the core components, and these are all CI kinds. So instead of sharing into the rule the exact CIs, we have defined the what CI kind I need to traverse the entire communication path. And if that traverse or that communication path is being discovered by discovery, it will bring that into the topology. So we just followed the 7-layer of OSI model by assuming every host will follow through the hardware layer till your end user layer, in between which will have database, virtual machine, software instances, and all the applicable things will be available as part of your topology. Now let me quickly jump back to the service health page. And let me see if there is any live impact which I can share, being its production. So I do see there is one service called as a Kofax, right? Now let's drill into it. And I want to show how does our command center engineer use it in a day-to-day operations. The moment they select that particular impacted service, it will provide the downstream and upstream hierarchical impact, whether it is impacting one business service or many business service. In this case, the Kofax is our technical service used by the order management business to run the invoices and the different other activities which are related to the order management. Now, if I jump to the CI topology, it would smartly bring the automatic filter. What does that mean? Being this service currently impacted, and you can see on the timeline, it has just pulled up the information about impacted CI, which we can select what exactly the impact and what the event is about. But if I want to see the scope of entire topology, we can remove these auto-created filter by AIOps and can visualize entire CI topology for that particular technical service. Now, if I remove the groups, you would see this particular service has multiple components, right from your network till the end host or the VM. We can cross-launch to the incident, and this is where the service ops use case, which brings the contextual view of event impacting to the service, as well as generated incident in a service management platform. But I just don't want to stop here. It also gives a very good ability to analyze the root cause, where it would show the impacted metric. And in this case, this impact is driven because of one of the log file is not being updated. So it's a monitoring which is additionally giving the details about the health of the server. But at the same time, you will notice somebody like a level 2 engineer and even the level 1 engineer in a knock room, they have ability to drill through the health indicator right on the same screen. Also, the health indicator about the impacted metric, and this is where it shows there is a one indicator of a health being impacted. We also have the situation being open because of some of the other events are still in an open state, and we can cross launch from this particular root cause isolation of situation to identify more about what exactly the situation is. Now, if I select this situation, this is where our command center get a more visibility about what is being impacted and what is the pattern of that situation over the historical period. Now, in the backend, it is going to run the agentic capabilities and AIOps, which we often use to analyze the situation, to summarize the situation, and also to drill into the various different generated events. Now, from service ops perspective, if I have to take one more example, I'm just going to just navigate while it is opening, and we'll come back to that same situation page. I know there was one service which was having the change being planned. I select that service health timeline, and I want to show it is not about only identifying the impact and service impact communication, but at the same time to bring the contextual view of change related data. So on the same timeline, we are also able to visualize if there are changes going to be executed or being implemented for that particular service or any component within that service. Now, if I want to see more details about that change, we can cross launch from here, which will bring me into the ITSM. We'll show the context of that service related change, where we can also initiate the impact analysis. And this is where more power of impact analysis comes into the play, where I have the contextual view of analyzing. Okay, I just got my session terminated, and let me cross launch. So where it gives the ability to have the contextual view from impact into your operations management console, but as a change submitter or a change coordinator, you also have the visuals where you can analyze the impact based on the same service impact model, where it will bring the view of what are the services going to be impacted with that change, both in the list view as well as the topological view. Now, in this case, there are multiple different services, and because of it's a list of huge services, I'm getting that pop-up of embedded view, which I can ignore always. And if I run this simulation of graph, you will see the same topological view available into my service management console. Now, this is just one of the use case of having contextual view in a service ops area, where I have the visibility from change as well as event and incident in a contextual way. One more thing which I want to highlight from the perspective of service ops, which we use for advisory perspective, which called as a change risk advisor, another agentic AI capability, which allow us to have potential impact on a services due to some changes. So we can visualize those and have some better decision making before that change gets implemented. So if I keep scrolling, you will see there are hundreds of changes which had been already implemented, or some of those are about to be implemented. And as a change manager or a change submitter, we can select one of the change based on what exactly that change is about. The change risk advisor agent will try to identify the historical changes, the past 10 recent changes, if there was an impact to the overall health score of a service, or was there any open situation. And it will give some cognitive risk assessment, and also if there are some events or incident in a recent time being reported for that service. Obviously, it's being production environment. I'm not simulating anything. So if that change request was not impacting anything, you will not see the analysis coming as a risk assessment. Now with this, what I'm going to completely segue and switch to the dashboard conversation. And I want to start with the home page of our dashboard console, which is being one of the very effective success story for us. And what we did to make it more easy to adopt and convenient for all of our operation users and rest of the business users as well. We defined a home page which gives a very good classification for various different type of dashboard. For example, a dashboard which are going to have high level 60,000 feet overview for the health of your platform. It could be AWS, it could be something as an a vCenter overview, or end-to-end event analysis, or it could be just for CIO perspective, right? And the second bucket is about having the deep dive analysis for level 2 and level 3 engineer to identify the investigate the issues or troubleshoot the ongoing outages, where you can slice and dice and go much more deep into the individual CI or multiple metrics. And the third bucket is about giving the more contextual view about service management related dashboard, which could be your change data, incident data, or very focused dashboard for service desk or knock or various different support categories. This is helping us to not really allow users to get themselves lost into the list of dashboard, but rather they know what are the top dashboard which they need to access or use in a day-to-day operations. On this note, let me quickly jump on an example for a CIO dashboard. So this is one of the dashboard which we had built to help our leadership team to have a very good insights and end-to-end overview about the health of infrastructure and various different associated metrics in a service context. It's taking a while, and while it's loading, the idea of building this dashboard was to provide the information for everything which makes most impactful for the senior leaders to drive their decisions, and which will be the data driven decisions, right? Now if I quickly start explaining, on the very first panel you will see the list of all the different events, where it gives the very good classification of critical, open, major, and minor. And this is all about based on the selected time range. If I go back and change it to the last 15 minutes, we may not see those number of events. But this every panel is a drill through. That means if I need to go into the more detail into the backend table, I will have the visibility about what that event is about and all the associated different slot and the metric for that event. Similarly, we populate the number of outages, situations, and number of automation being run in a selected time range. So let me go back to the last 7 days, and you will see there are 125 automation or automated closed loop remediation has been successfully accomplished. And this is again a list of our business service and technical service, which is real time and dynamically retrieved from the discovery. But it is not about just giving the stats about events and outages, but at the same time, it gives a very good view about various business services and their related health. Now, what we did, we don't want to have the CIO persona to have the every event or incident related impact to be visualized on this heat map, but this is all about showing the open service disruptions or the outages. I will come back to this heat map and will select one of the business service and I will show how does the backend service analysis view look like for that particular business service. And just to continue, let me scroll down and show what are the different other attributes and the data points we have on this dashboard. Obviously, the top 5 business services impacted by the outage count for the selected range of time, top 5 impacted technical services by outage count, and top 5 situation for service. Further, I have a very good real-time inventory, which is again by considering what matters most or what is most interest of our leadership. And this is all coming from discovery. And you notice I have the ability to drill down. If I select this particular panel, it will pull out the list of all the databases being discovered by discovery. So it's a real time for these metrics to give me the information from the discovery. Further, if I scroll down, we have data coming from service management and particularly for service desk perspective about customer satisfaction, the CSAT number or first call abandon or the first call resolution, as well as average speed to answer. We also use the SLA data, such as response SLA and resolution SLA across all the groups to highlight how effectively the support groups are resolving the end user request. We have the change deployment frequency, which is again coming from service management. And this is where very consolidated view to not only understand the status of service, but how frequently services are being moving to the innovative wave or how they are being deployed with a frequency across whether it's emergency change, expedited or standard. So we can select those filters and identify how exactly the changes are being implemented. We also have the change failure rate. And one more quick thing about end-to-end network view, which provides some of the key links and their status. Now let me go back to the heat map. And as I said, I will select one of the business service just to show how the service analysis page or the drill down view looks like for the leader or the CIO to have the data driven conversation. For example, our senior leader or CIO wants to have the conversation with the business. They have ability on the AIOps perspective and the dashboard itself, where they can go back to the required time and say, for example, they are having a conversation with a business to help them understand how effectively IT is serving that service. We can select the overall health details of that service, which gives trend of events and incident. Also, the number of outages which has been occurred on that particular business service. We also record and provide the details about what type of outage impact was, whether it's a partial, full, or information only. Also, we capture whether that particular service disruption was reported by monitoring tool or was that reported by user, which is a UGE, which is indicating user generated event versus SG, which is indicating the system generated event. We also provide the all required attributes, whether we have the vendor ticket associated or is there anything required from recovery action perspective. So if I keep on expanding, there are multiple attributes and we have all those records and the cross launch into the incident. So in a short, it's not just about identifying the impact and health of our environment, but also being able to make a decisions based on this data so that leadership can have a very much conversation with the business and can provide what was the health trend of that service. We also have the log analysis based context so that we can cross launch for that particular service health into the Helix log analytics and identify more contextual data, whether it's required for troubleshooting or different trend or pattern analysis. Now let me go back to the dashboard homepage and I will take one more quick example. And Sam, you can help me if I am already running out
You
of the
are,
time.
and we probably need a few minutes. We've got a few questions for you, but I know you're going to get carried away.
Sure. So I will just quickly take a glimpse of one of the dashboard. And obviously we cannot cover all the use cases and scenario. And I will then hand over back to you. So I'm just going to open one more dashboard. This is used to manage effectively our entire SSL certificates expiry across production, dev, QA environment. And we know this is one of the industry challenge where keeping a track and having the better view as well as the integrated event and incident operation to identify what certificates are going to expire in a near term. So we have implemented this. It's been more than 3 years, and it has been very effectively helping us to avoid any impact to our production application as well as dev and QR. We got a various different processes. If the certificate is about to expire in a 30 days, we generate a minor event. If it is still not being taken care and the remaining days are only 15, then it bump up the priority to the major. And even after that, if the certificate is yet to be renewed and only last 7 days remained, then it goes into the critical state. And that's where we start initiating the notification and reaching out to the required application team so that certificate gets renewed immediately. And this is again can be achieved directly just using the discovery data or using the BHOM based monitoring solution. Now with this, I will take a pause and I will hand over to Sam back to you.
Thank you. And I'm sure, to be honest, we probably will need you to come back for another webinar in the future. There's so much to cover. So just a quick recap before we go and spend the last few minutes with the questions. We've got getting started. So if you're still very new to AIOps, there's some really good references here. And if we go to the next reference slide, on here you'll find all of the past webinars that we've done, which we've done in the AIOps series. So I think if you can move to the next one, Shrikant. I'm not expecting everyone to take down the links today because we will share those links with you. And then the next one that we've got, if you want to move to the next slide, I'm going to go on fast mode. I know there's many of you here in the Americas region, so we do still have our roadshow coming up in November. We've already done London, Mumbai, and Melbourne. Next up is Stockholm. So if you are in any EMEA regions or close to these locations, I will share the links with you to sign up. Love to see you in person. I won't personally be going to all of them, but a lot of the product managers will be showcasing a lot of great new stuff there, especially in AIOps and GPT. And then I think we are on to the Q&A slide, if I can remember. Yes. So, Shrikant, we did our best to answer a lot of the questions, or Matt did, but we've got a couple of questions for you in the Q&A. I'm not sure who asked the first one, but if we can take that one first. This was, where would be the default metrics saved for health score, and can we change them directly in AIOps? That's the first question. I'll start unmuting everyone. Do you want to take that question, Shrikant?
Yeah, yep. And if I understand that question, this is about health indicator. If yes, then you can edit the service and configure the health indicator within that individual service context, or it can be a beyond that service context as well. So I hope it was about health indicator. Yes, you can configure those, and those are not a default. It's based on your requirement. You can define.
Great. We've just had a thumbs up, so I'm hoping that's the person that's asked it. If that hasn't answered your question, please reply and we'll take another question in. Next question we had was from Jess, and I know Jess normally can come off mute. So Jess, I see your question about the CIO dashboard that you'd showed, and you were asking if the display service status is available out of the box because you couldn't find it. Do you want to speak to Shrikant?
Yes. Yep. There is a out-of-the-box CIO dashboard also available. I am sure R&D has released in a previous release, but that out-of-the-box dashboard versus what I shared has a slight difference. The dashboard which we built is been almost more than a year now, or 2 years, and then R&D has adopted that, and they have started shipping this as an out-of-the-box, which has a slight different variation. But yes, there is at least out-of-the-box service status, and some of the front-end details which I was able to share are available. There could be some different data points which I used and may not be available in out-of-the-box dashboard, but you can configure it, but it is available.
And just to jump on that point, thank you, Shrikant. And also there's another question around dashboards. Anything that you've seen today, if there is interest, please feel free to drop us a line. We love to share community dashboards. I think so. If there's something that you see that maybe Shrikant's got that you'd like to take a look at, drop us a line and we'll post those JSON files to you.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking right now. I can't find a dashboard that's like what was displayed. Can you give me the name of it, or like I can't find it?
Yeah, so I can share the JSON files as Matt rightly mentioned, and there are some out-of-the-box dashboard. Yep, and they can refer it with this JSON and can implement. Yep.
Great.
I'll
Thank
put you
you.
in contact.
We're just building our service dashboard out right now, so that would be extremely helpful.
I'll put you in contact after the session.
Jess, there may be shared interest there. I was working with one of our other partners recently on doing some service dashboards. So I'll ask Sam to offer you my email and we can have a chat if you're interested.
Yeah, I'd certainly be interested in multiple demos of different ways of doing it. The SSL expiry dashboard, I'm also interested in.
Sure.
We can do both.
Yep.
I'll also offer you pretty much the same thing with discovery data as well. So we'll put a little pack together and post it on. There's a community GitHub, so we'll get a link out to that for you.
That's fabulous. Thank you. We're heavy dashboards users. So.
Cool.
I think someone else has said that'd be useful. So if there is anyone else off on here and they don't want to come off mute, if you can just contact me when I send the thank you email out, I will put you in contact with Matt and Shrikant and the team. Okay. I think we've got another question that's come in. Is it possible to see change information in service monitoring when using ServiceNow ITSM?
Okay, I will I'm not sure if we are on the call, but based on my knowledge, there is a integration available, but I will let product management team answer it. If Aaron is on the call, or if Matt, you can take that question.
Absolutely, give it a go. So change information in service monitoring. So are you able to come off mute? What does change information mean to you guys? Are we talking about situations and looking for change requests in ServiceNow?
Hi, this is Vinicius.
Hello there.
Yeah, I mean the change requests from ServiceNow ITSM. When I see service monitoring and the timeline, for example, I see some change information when it happened and the idea of that change request. If we are using ServiceNow, is it possible to bring and see that information in Helix Service Monitor?
Perfect. I believe out of the box today, it's not a capability. It works with Helix ITSM, but I will do some checking and come back to you, Vicinius.
Thanks.
Thank you for your question. I'm very conscious of time. We'll just take 2 more questions, and if there is any that we haven't answered, I'll make sure we get some responses back. So Ramesh, I can see yours was a question in there about the inventory view entry on discovery data, also how it is synced with the CMDB. That may even be a question that Matt might be able to answer.
Absolutely.
Well.
So I'll try and keep me correct, Ramesh, but
yeah, sure.
Broadly, everything that we've been looking at today is based on data that is stored in discovery. Absolutely right. But when you look at things like dashboards or CNDB data, Discovery pushes over its data over to the CNDB using a feature we call CNDB Sync, ServiceNow and Helix Discovery, Helix CNDB, and then you use AIOps to go to ITSM to see changes against that data that generically is sourced from this Discovery.
Okay, so CMDB is where you would expect the clean data to be, right?
It's the recipient. It's where you do your ITSM processes. It's where you may ingest data from other sources, but everything around AIOps is based on the data that is stored in Discovery itself. So you build the service models in Discovery, and that data is then pushed to the CNDB, and they're enriched with your ownership, your SLAs, all those ITSM pieces of information that are not what Discovery does. Discovery puts the information, the assets, the relationships, the models, and then you consume on and do your change, risk, incident, all those beautiful ITSM services are sat on top of that Discovery data.
Okay, if I may take a couple of seconds to just extend that question. See, let's say Discovery is one part of the inventory discovery and all that. But there will be, let's say in a telco model, there are different systems which hold inventory, right? We have the logical network inventory and then the physical inventory and all that. If there are other systems in an organization which hold inventory and maintain it, that would mean they have the models. So how does the federation, what is the support that CMDB has to get in sync with those topologies and models and the CAs itself?
Great question. So generically, we would use a capability we have called intelligent integrations, and it's that will connect. And I can never remember the volume of connectors that we had that will connect to the monitoring tools, the management tooling, and ingest topology data via Discovery, basically. So it pushes intelligent integrations will talk to Dynatrace, Datadog, ingest that information, including maybe service models, into Discovery, where they are consumed by AIOps. Likewise, that data will then be pushed over to the CNDB. And then if you already are connected with those other technologies, you would use reconciliation, normalization, all the good workflows in CNDB to merge that data and identify to avoid your duplicates.
Okay, so that would mean the other parties to need to go via Discovery into CMDB.
Yes.
Okay, that was the thing. Okay, clear.
And the good thing about that is, ideally, if you have a device monitored by 15 tools, we don't want 15 records coming into Discovery and then 15 events being mapped into a model. And so it brings a little bit, and I'm going to use the word that sometimes upsets ITSM folks, so apologies to all. It does a little bit of reconciliation in itself. It looks to say, I have a device, here's its information. It will look in the Discovery data for a match. If it already has a match, it will just latch onto that same record in Discovery. So you get a single record going over to the CNDB. If you have disparate information that is not perfect, then let us know, and we love to see how these connectors can evolve as vendors have a habit of changing their APIs. But ultimately, we use Discovery to create the records, to build the service models, the consumption by AIOps, and population into the CNDB.
Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure.